I'm Misty, and I'm a mental health therapist at Solstice. Been here about 5 years, work on Autumn team. What made me get into this industry? To be honest, it wasn't my first choice. I started in pharmacy and wanted to be a pharmacy tech and went that route. You have to take a lot of math. Found out pretty early on, math is not my thing, and I had been taking sort of an undergrad like social work class at the time, loved it, and just decided to take more of those. So started taking psychology classes and anything I could that was like social work related, and did really well in that, whereas the math piece not so well. So it felt really good to me, just kept going and got a job right out of school doing more mentor stuff. So what they do here as far as mentors and just milieu stuff, and again thought, okay, like I'll try this out for a little bit and see if it really fits, and got into it and loved it and have been hooked ever since. And I think part of it is just the gratification. Like I'd had jobs prior to that, but it was things like, you know, retail or food industry, and I never had sort of the satisfaction or the personal growth in the way that I felt working in this field. And so never left and just kept going and going. And here I am, official therapist. So as far as additional training in kids that I work well with, definitely I would say attachment. So looking at like grief and loss stuff that maybe happened as a child adoption. And those are areas that I think I had no clue coming into the field, the significance of attachment and what that meant, and some of these significant events, the long-term impact. One of the things that was really astounding to me first learning about adoption was even if a baby is adopted at birth, you're still gonna have more of a likelihood of some of this other stuff, like acting out behaviors, academic struggles, ADHD, just ongoing fear of rejection and abandonment. I didn't know that coming into it, and then the more students I worked with and seeing all the attachment stuff from adopted kids, even if they're adopted at birth, that became really interesting to me and intriguing. And so I started doing more research and studying, and then going to trainings and conferences, and it ended up becoming something I was super passionate about, and then just kind of my thing too. So that is something that I really enjoy and continue getting training in. And then I have had some trainings too with LGBTQ and working with that population, which has just been, I think, coming up more and more recently over the past several years. I think it's becoming more common, and for clinicians needing to get skilled because it's a thing, and it's becoming much more normalized than it has been in the past, and us understanding how to treat it and how to be inclusive and non-shaming and support them in their process. Also understanding that these are teens and they're in a state of figuring out their identity and potential attachment stuff, and so being very open-minded and not trying to pigeonhole and solidify that or reject it, and really supporting them and showing up for them where they're at in their process. Watching that shift and those changes occur, where you've got a girl that came in depressed, anxious, no sense of self, and then just along the way, these moments that just become like so empowering, and identity and feeling differently about who they are as an individual. Absolutely a success story. So there's a lot, but I think the one that stands out to me the most, maybe because she was a fellow redhead, so there's that, but she came in significant self-harm, so arms covered in scars, super anxious. The first time I met with her, she was like radiating anxiety, very rigid in terms of she did not want to give up her self-harm, and if I was going to try to make her give up her self-harm, like it wasn't going to do any good, basically schooling me to get ready to be disappointed. And then over the course of her stay, and this was a girl that her depression and anxiety were so high that before coming to Solstice at home, she really wasn't going to school. She was staying at home, had one friend, really socially anxious. And by the time she left here, she was a leader, empowered, like use her voice, where it took months to get her to speak up in groups. When she left, it was leader of the team. She was running groups. She made these awesome t-shirts, these bracelets, celebrated like how far she'd come in her self-harm. Ended up after she left actually getting tattoos on her arm to cover the self-harm, but they were very symbolic for her. And now she's traveling the world, she's going to college. She did a gap year post-Solstice where she was going to foreign countries and community service and service work, and that is huge for this girl because she was so anxious and depressed. She wasn't leaving the house, and here she is traveling the world. And she's came back to visit several times, and we keep in touch regularly. So she's probably my biggest success story, and just in terms of where she's at and what she's accomplishing currently. I think as much as it's about the students, like I feel very honored to do the work that I do, to be able to be a part of someone's journey and their process is just as rewarding for me as I think they probably feel on their end. I don't know any other job that you could get this. This is where I'm meant to be.